Don't just take them. Okay. But
so, Geshe, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome also everyone online. So in case you wonder, Teresa has asked me to be her substitute for tonight and to open the evening, and most of all to welcome Geshe in our center. Geshe, it's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
And we're so delighted to have you. And for those who are new tonight, I would say a few words about Geshe Sherab. So Geshe Sherab was born in Nepal and went to study in Kopan Monastery at the age of 8. And afterwards, he continued his Geshe studies in South India, in Serajay, and completed the Geshe study program, Geshe Larampa. And he's been a precious teacher for this community since many, many years. So he came to teach here when Laksam wasn't even a study group. So he was really the first Tibetan teacher that came here, but has been with us regularly throughout the years since we became study group and then when we became a Dharma center. So he's been really a precious teacher for us for many, many years. And so we are delighted to have him here. It's not so often that we have this opportunity because he normally lives in the United States, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and travels around the world. So we're fortunate that every time he travels in Europe, he does not forget us. We're very grateful for that. And tonight we will have an introduction to Tantra. So it will be an introductory teaching. Whereas tomorrow and Sunday, there will be teachings and practice of Grintara. So tomorrow will be the whole day from 10 to 5 and tonight from 7 to about 9 p.m. And this is the program for the weekend. I hope you'll join us for the whole weekend. And one last thing I would like to mention is that Laksam is a center that relies completely on donations. So we appreciate every donation that you would like to make in order to make this teachings possible also in the future. And having said that, I won't take more time. Geshe, thank you so much for being here and for your precious teachings. And we will start with reciting praise to Buddha Shakyamuni and then offer a mandala.
Dönpa chondende deshe shaba ga chompa yang dakpa tsokpe sangye rikpa sangshatsu tenpa dewa shekpa jikten kenpa keru bebe alok yoba lana mepa ladaminam ki dönpa sangye chomdende pergyawa shakya tukpa la chaksalo chudo kyapsu chi o. Ganze Kani Zoge Namse Sache di la Compadun Borne Ngani Jikten Drena Chek Choche Sum Detse Kepe Kyola Chak Telo Nanda Kuma Chose Tu Sangwa Yeshe Gyatso Serge Lumpo Chakpa Jikten Sumye Lanyewa Gunpo Chogye Kyola Chak Selo Ten Chokden Padri Medawa She Sedo Trawe Kyola Chak Selo Dure Kyola Sipa Sumati Nyame Kenshin Kyola Chak Selo Gunpo Tuche Cheden Pa Tamche Kyenpa Tunpa Po Sunam Yonten Gyatso Shin Deshin Shela Chak Selo Takpeder Chak Wagyo Kewang Song Nacho Ching Chiklu Dunam Chogyo Pa Shikyo Chela Chak Selo Chune Chowe Lanyang Dun Lapa Tala Raptune Chingi Damba Yundun Ten Gendun Layang Chak Selo Sangye Tsola Chak Selo Kyopa Chola Chak Selo Gendun Chela Chak Selo Sula Takdu Chase Chapa Jut Pam Chakcha Upa Tamchela Shindu Kunye Tanye Ludu Pae Nam Kundu Cholu De Chaksela Tipa Chige Priya Biya Ching Yawa Pensun Tsokpa Che Rangi Senni Onsudu Dini Sangye Tenpa Yi Rama Garit Mameta Yuma Siva Chupodan Mila Lodan Tintabur Duce Chudan Titata Sunandi Tamje Sivayi Kopatom Yekundu Tarute Kadamadan Chiwe Trupe Sipet Sole Droa Droa Shor Sa Shifu Ru Shi Me So Cham Ri Ra Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kaniyataya. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today, everyone in person and those who are online. I would like to start with a few moments of short breathing exercise meditations to bring our mind in moment, in present, and then, trying to generate a good intention, motivation for being here before we actually start the topic of the talk. Try to keep your back straight. That will help to be more alert, more awake.
And make yourself comfortable and relaxed. And feel the weight of your body on cushion, on chair. And as you breathe in and out naturally, keep your mind to the breath, observing it mindfully and being aware. Then we can try to think, we are coming here together to listen and to engage in discussions, reflection, contemplation. May all of this become cause and condition to reduce those disturbing negative emotions and cause and condition to cultivate and improve those positive state of mind. And we become cause and condition to achieve our highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can perform the greatest help and benefit to others and oneself. Refusion Bodhita. Sangye chodan soge chonam la chanchu padu dani kya sushi nage jin soge be sonangi dola penje sangye duba sho Sangye Chodan Soge Chonam La Chanchu Patu Dani Dagi Jin Sogi De Sonam Ki Yola Penje Sangye Duba Shu Sangye Chodan Soge Chonam La Chanchu Patu Dani Kapsu Chi Dagi Jin Sogi De Sonam Ki Yola Penche Sangye Dupa Shu. So today's topic, introduction to the Tantra. Um, mm, um, trying to understand in terms of introduction to the Tantra. Um, when it is kind of when we are kind of ready to make the next step in engaging the Tantra practice. So again, when we have certain foundations of what we call common path, that is common to both Sutra and Tantra. The practice of Lamrim, and if we try to kind of make it short, the practice of renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom realizing emptiness. When we have some foundation of those practices that you have studied on them, you have reflected, contemplated on them. Even we don't have complete realization, but at least you have some taste of them. And when one have those foundation, then one could be more ready to move to the next stages of the Tantric practice. So to have the foundation or common path is important, and that you can see in the Buddha's own introductions to that. Buddha gave teachings, what we call three turning of the wheel. In the first turning wheel of the Dharma, he gave teaching on Four Noble Truths. And those practice are Four Noble Truth is a practice to help us to have renunciation mind, not to be attached to the samsaric kind of pleasure and samsaric excellence, letting go of any attachments, So that he kind of create the foundations. And then next, in second turning wheel of the Dharma, then he, the perfection of the wisdom, Prajnaparamita Sutras, such as the Heart Sutra, or these are part of the second turning wheel of the Dharma. On the basis of that, Four Noble Truths, on the foundation of that, then one is, encouraged to move to the next path, the higher path, the Bodhisattva path, the wisdom realizing emptiness that is supported by the Bodhicitta mind. And so perfection of wisdom. The Prajna Paramita Sutras, the second turning wheel of the Dharma, are those, practices related with the Bodhisattva's practice. Especially how to practice and progress on the path of the wisdom on the Bodhisattva path. And then expand on the foundation of that, the first turning or the second turning, then, to expand that, then in terms of realizing the emptiness to the wisdom, then, more kind of expansions of that wisdom, there can be wisdom, understanding, realizing the emptiness with a gross mind and more subtle mind. And so in third turning wheel of the Dharma, where Buddha, explain about the Buddha natures, and then, the subtle level of the wisdom, in terms of subtle level of wisdom, in terms of the mind that realizes the emptiness, that wisdom, through the most subtle mind, the clear light mind, realizing emptiness. And that becomes more powerful, wisdom realizing emptiness. And so he expanded that in third, and that becomes the basis for the teaching on the Tantra. So it's like, creating, foundations to the next level of practice. So that is how gradual kind of the foundation, you need to have those foundations in order to be able to engage in that practice, and that practice to become helpful and beneficial. If we don't have those foundations, even if we try to engage in tantric practice, the practice does not become as effective, as powerful as it should be. And that is due to not having a strong foundations of the common path. And in relation to that also, the great master Adisha, one of the great Indian masters around 10, 11 centuries, and greatest master at that time, and who came to Tibet and, taught, and for his last 17 years, and he passed away there, and where he revived the Buddhism to its purity, where it has been kind of diluted a little bit because Buddhism came around 7th, 8th century in Tibet, and it went through up and down, and when you go up and down, sometimes, especially there was one king who didn't support these new religions, Buddhism, and during his time he kind of extinguished, King Langtama, and he said for 70 years, it was kind of like banned, and prosecuted, and so Buddhism kind of declined during those times. Again, when they have the opportunity to kind of study and learn more, then, a lot of great practitioners, teachers are not anymore there when you have gap of 70 years, and so then when it tried to revive, it came really kind of mixed with a lot of things, and it wasn't as pure, And so again, Adisha was invited to kind of help to revive its purity. And so Adisha was a great instrument in doing that. And so he wrote one, a text, Lamb of the Path to Enlightenment, while he was in Tibet, and that became the basis for many others commentaries, Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim, as well as in other lineage in Nyingma, there's one of my perfect teachers, in Kagyu, the ornament of the Tapotarkan liberations, all these texts become the basis of all root texts for all those different commentaries, all different lineages, but all those great masters. So in that Lamb of the Path, he introduced the path of the what we call three higher trainings, three scopes, and then after he have introduced those practice, and then he introduced the tantric practice. So that is why the foundation first, and then the tantric practice. Even in Buddha, the way Buddha introduced is same way. First turning wheel of Dharma, second turning wheel of Dharma, third turning wheel of Dharma, and that become basis for the tantric teachings. And in that Adishas, if I can read few words from that. If we wish to fully perfect accumulation for enlightenment with ease through pacifying, enriching, and other activities accomplished by the mantric powers, through the power of eighth grade accomplishment, through accompanying the fine baths and others, if we wish to take up practice of secret mantra as taught in the action, contact, and other tantra, then in order to receive empowerment from a Vajra master, you must please the noble spiritual teachers through veneration, offering wealth and light, and endeavoring to carry out all commands. Through the complete bestowal of Vajra master empowerment by spiritual master whom you have delighted, you will be completely purified of all the negative karma and gain fortune of accomplishing the siddhis. So that is his introductions of the Tantra. Once you have the foundation of practice of three scopes that already explained, then if you want to achieve enlightenment more quickly, more easily, then he encouraged to take the empowerment from the qualified spiritual masters, and through empowerment, your mind is ripened, and through your mind is ripening, then one is also empowered to engage in the study and the practice of that tantric, and then keeping the samaya, the vajra's commitments, and then one can engage in the practice of tantric practice, and then it becomes more powerful, effective, because you already have all the foundations. Same in Lama Tsongkhapa's foundation of audible quality. Again, at the very beginning, he explained the common practice. And then after that, he says, when trained in common path, the common path, as I mentioned, cultivating a renounced mind, which means non-attached to the samsaric excellence and samsaric pleasure, and then bodhicitta mind and the wisdom, So when trained in a common path, then one becomes suitable vessel. Then one becomes suitable vessel to progress in the further path, the Vajrayana path, the tantric path. I'm a suitable vessel, then I request inspirations to enter with ease the great gateway of the fortunate one, the Vajrayana, the supreme of all vehicles. Then you request for the initiations from qualified Vajra master, and as I mentioned, that allow your mind to ripen, as well as give you you are empowered to study and practice those, And then he said the basis of achieving two powerful attainments, which is the common and uncommon attainment. The uncommon attainment is the fully enlightenment, and there are 8 kind of common attainment that are helpful tool to help and benefit sentient beings. So to achieving true powerful attainment is the pure vow and commitment that I have pledged when you take the initiations. Having found the true understanding of this, I request inspiration to keep them even in the course of my life. Having realized the significance of 2 stages, the stages of in a high yoga tantra practice, there are 2 stages of practice, what we call generation stage and completion stages. Those are 2. Which are the essence of tantric path. I request inspiration to steadfastly practice without laziness in 4 sessions of yoga and realize what is holy, what the holy being had taught. So I just wanted to kind of, so that is having the foundation, common path, the lamrim or three principle accelerator path is very important, And once you have some understanding and some, foundation of that, then one might be more ready to engage in the Vajrayana path. Otherwise, while you try to practice the Vajrayana practices, different visualization, different practices, there is benefit in that, but it wouldn't be as powerful, effective as it should in terms of transforming your mind. All the practice, whether it's Sutrayana practice or Tantric practice, should be something that is transformative to your mind, able to transform your mind, to change your mind to more positive. And then, if we don't have that foundation, then the foundation of common path, then and then instead of being reduced our afflictive emotions, it might increase our afflictive emotions. We do all the retreat and of daily retreat, all this, and then, I've done all this practice, I've done all this daily, all this, and you might feel, I'm better and special than others, and increase your ego, increase your pride. They have not done all this retreat, I have done all this retreat, they have not received this empowerment, I've received all this empowerment, this and that, So instead of decreasing your ego and your pride, it increases. And that happens because we don't have a strong foundation of those common paths. If someone has strong foundation in common paths, such as some understanding of wisdom realizing emptiness and bodhicitta, there's no space to have that kind of ego and that kind of arrogance to arise. But when we don't, that foundation is possible. And as His own Dalai Lama always use one quotation from one masters, if you don't have those foundations and you try to recite, 100,000, millions, billions of those mantras, and then that Lama say, by reciting so many mantras, your nail, you might finish your nail, but not the delusions. After spending so many times, hours, weeks, months, years and you have recited so many mantras, and because of that, your enlightenment might be shorter and shorter, but not your delusions. But whether it's a Vajrayana practice or Sutrayana practice, it should be to shorten your delusion, to decrease your delusion. That's the whole purpose of all the practice. And so therefore, that's why the common path, the foundation, become very important. And therefore, also there are traditions, like anytime when the teachers give empowerment initiation, before empowerment initiation, they give introductory teachings on the common path. It's always traditions. Sometimes those teachings can be for one session, sometimes 2-3 days, and because one need to have those foundations. That is why. Also, one of the other things, in Tantra practice is the role of the guru, the spiritual teacher, the mentor, and guru devotions or guru yoga become even more important. In the Vinaya teachings, the Buddha gave Vinaya teaching, those where he gave teachings, mostly those teachings you find in Pali traditions, and that he emphasized the importance of spiritual teachers and mentors, and which is understandable, like everything, even in our ordinary educations, we need, good teachers and good mentors to bring our best, to guide us, in the same way the spiritual mentor or the spiritual teachers play a big important role in terms of helping us and guiding us on our spiritual path, our spiritual educations. And in that, he explained that the teacher, spiritual master or teacher, as like being a messenger of the Buddhas. One should train your mind to see them as the messenger of the Buddhas, representative or messenger of the Buddhas, carrying those message, those teachings, those wisdom, those knowledge. Then in Mahayana teachings, the Bodhisattva's teachings, then the level of the importance and the level of the guru or spiritual master become even more important, and in that it is encouraged to train to see the spiritual master as a Buddha, not just a messenger, but actually see them as training your mind to see them as a Buddha. So it goes a little bit more deeper in that way, It's encouraged. It is, encouraged to train your mind to see the guru, the spiritual master, not just a messenger, but actually a Buddha in the form of this ordinary aspect or ordinary form, but in essence, it's a Buddha training to see that. Then when it comes to Vajrayana practice, the Tantric practice, then the level of relationship and the important guru become even more important. And in those Tantric or Vajrayana teachings, then we are encouraged, we are instructed to train your mind to see the guru not just as a Buddha in the ordinary form, but actually in the form of the deity itself, in the form of the Buddha themselves. So then in those training, you don't actually see as an ordinary form, ordinary aspect, but you actually see in the form of the deity themselves, in the deity. So you can see the role of the spiritual master in those level of the practice become more and more important, more and more subtle, more and more deeper. So again, and therefore, the Guru devotions and Guru Yoga become one of the very important factors in the Vajrayana practice too, and again, we had to be ready for that too, And therefore, in all the Vajrayana practice, all the sadhanas, we start, in a Vinaya or the, Theravadan practices, it all start with refuge. In both sadhavas practice, it always start with the bodhicitta motivations. In tantric practice, you always start with the Guru Yoga. Of course, the Guru Yoga can be very extensive, middle, and very short. There can be many versions, but it is encouraged to start with so that is a little bit on Guru Yoga in Tantric. So we talk a lot about that. What is Tantra? Tantra, mantra, tantric path, mantra path, Vajrayana, they all are kind of synonymous. They all mean same, but they have these slightly different meanings in terms of Mantrayana. Mantra means there's two words, man and tara. Man means in Indian language, in Sanskrit, Indian, mind. Tara here means protections, protecting the mind. That is the meaning of the mantra. So when we call it Mantrayana. And so the practice in the Tantra or the mantra is the practice. Through such practice, it protects your mind from ordinary appearance and grasping. It's to train your mind, by visualizing yourself as a deity and holding with divine pride, as in the form of that deity. So then there's no more ordinary appearance of yourself, And when you don't have ordinary appearance of yourself, there's no space for self-pity and all this self-loathing, self-hatred, self-doubt. Again, it's a kind of training the mind to see your highest potential. We all have the Buddha nature. We all have the potential to become, Manjushri. We all have the Buddha of wisdom. We all have the potential to become Avalokiteshvara, Buddha of compassion. We have all the potential to become Tara, the potential of the Buddha's activity. So we all have all these potentials, all different Buddhas that represent different inner qualities. And we have all these potentials. It's not fully actualize those potentials. And so in Vajrayana practice, you actually try to see yourself almost being fully actualize those potentials in that aspect. It's like you have imagined even it has not happened, you have already imagined what it is like that, and you are already kind of training your, and because of that, to train, not in Vajrayana, not only you train will come later, you train yourself to see deity, you see the whole environment to see as the mandala, pure. You train yourself to see all sentient beings as a deity instead of ordinary beings. So when you train that, then there's no appearance of ordinary environment. There's no appearance of ordinary sentient beings. There's no appearance of your ordinary yourself. And when you do that, then when you are able to do that, then in that moment, at least in that moment, as long as you are able to keep that strong, clear, with that very strong, with the clarity, with that divine mind, then there's no reason to get upset and angry to others when you see everyone as a deity. When you see the whole environment as a pure instead of impure, there's no reason to make you upset, agitate you, frustrate you. So it is a different technique, different way of reducing those afflictive emotions from arisings. Of course, there's a certain technique that you find in Sutra, analytical meditation, different analytical meditation, non-analytical meditation you use to reduce and the afflictive emotions, disturbing emotions. But in those there is all this technique, but on top of that, in Vajrayana Tantric, there are slightly also more other techniques such as those, So that is what it is. Protecting your mind from the appearance of ordinary appearance and grasping. And not only you visualize oneself as the deity with that divine pride, at the same time, at the very beginning of the practice, when you visualize yourself as a deity, first you dissolve your ordinary being into emptiness. Part of the practice, you dissolve the ordinary self into emptiness. Meditate on emptiness. And the wisdom realizing emptiness, that actually manifests into that deity form. While you have this strong visualization of the deity with clarity, with that divine pride, that I am that deity, but at the same time, you have this awareness, same time, that deity is like an illusion, not inherent existence. It's like an illusion. And because of that understanding, that there's no more grasping to that deity. If you don't have that awareness, that realization, you visualize a deity, but you can have clinging and grasping to that form of deity. And if you have clinging and grasping to that deity, you can get attached to that form of the deity. Again, it doesn't help to reduce the afflictive emotion. Instead, it might make you to have a strong attachment to that form of the deity and grasping. And so that is also why the foundations of some understanding of emptiness come into key, in order not to have the grasping. If you don't have that foundation, again, while you visualize as a deity, and even you can have very clear image of that deity, and even you have that divine pride that I'm that deity, but still you could have grasping to it. But when you combine, while you have those visualization, that clarity, at the same time, having the awareness that even this deity is like illusions, there's no inherent existence. And because of that, then you don't have grasping and therefore no attachment. So that is how mantra means protecting your mind. And so that is how it protects. That is how it protects your mind. You protect your mind from ordinary appearance and grasping, And when you protect that, when there's no ordinary appearance and grasping, then the delusion doesn't arise, because the delusion arises when we see things ordinarily and there's a grasping. So that is what mantra. Tantra, as I mentioned, Vajrayana, Tantric path, mantric path, they mean same, but they have slightly different meaning of each word. And Tantra, it means kind of continuity, there's continuity. Gunchapa, having the there's continuity of something. And so because in Tantric teachings, the main subjects of those teachings in Tantra is talking about, the Buddha nature, the clear light mind, the Buddha nature, the clear light mind, whose nature is unpolluted, undiluted, whose fundamental nature is pure in its nature, undiluted, polluted. And because of that, therefore, all the delusions are temporary. It's not in the nature of the mind. The ultimate nature of mind is pure, undiluted in its nature. And because the delusion are like obscurations, the clouds, which are temporary, but they are in the not nature of the blue sky. And because they are not in the nature of the blue sky, because they are temporary, they can be clear. The cloud can be clear, and then you can see the pure blue, clear blue sky. In the same way, then all these delusions. And so, in that kind of clear light mind, that, pure fundamental nature of mind, pure light mind, is always continued. It always continues on the sentient beings. Not only in the sentient beings, as you become more and more enlightened and fully enlightened, that mind, that pure mind continue. And that in Tantra, because that subject is kind of taught, more focus on that, so there's Tantra, And Vajrayana, Yana means vehicle, Vajra means, diamond. And again, diamond represent undistractive. And, in that, it represents, the practice of union of the emptiness and blissfulness. The practice of union of blissfulness, emptiness. And that is and in those Tantric teachings or Vajrayana teachings, they teach or they taught, how to cultivate the blissfulness and emptiness, and how to use blissfulness and emptiness, in a union on the path to achieve full enlightenment. So that is a little bit kind of the meaning of the word itself, the Tantra, Mantra, Vajrayana, which all kind of mean same. So little few differences between Tantra and Sutrayana path. In Tantra, as I mentioned before, you want to engage in a practice by taking the result as the path. And so, in terms of the environment, there is a potential for the environment to be, pure. And so now in your training, your mind, you try to imagine and visualize the whole environment as being a celestial mandala, pure, in terms of oneself, or one's body, in oneself visualizing again, instead of ordinary self, visualizing, pure deity's form, in terms of enjoyment that we experience, instead of seeing and experiencing as ordinary enjoyment, you train to see them as a, something, all this enjoyment, everything that we enjoy are not just an ordinary enjoyment. They are actually, in essence, they are training to see, and in essence, they are the manifestations of the union of blissful and emptiness. And by seeing that, then whatever you enjoy that. You learn to enjoy that, not as an ordinary object of enjoyment, but by seeing those are actually that wisdom, realizing emptiness, that is in union of the blissfulness, but manifesting that different enjoyment and manifesting different offerings, different enjoyment, and then also training to imagine, visualize, to see your activities as enlightened activities instead of ordinary activities. So in part of those practice, when you visualize the deity, then in those practice, you visualize sending the light out of loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom, and then purifying the negative karma, delusions, and guiding and leading them to fully enlightenment. Those are part of training that you do in those tantric practice. And so that is, when you become fully enlightened, each of your, rays of light can help and benefit sentient beings to guide and lead them, And so there is the potential for that, even though, and so now taking that as a result and in imagining each of your, even all the rays of light that come from your body, everything actually helping to guide and lead them to the path to enlightenment. And those kind of practice are not in Sutra. It's not taught in Sutra. And there's all this taking the result as the path is only taught in the tantric teachings and only done in tantric practices. Is you don't find that in the Sutra practice. In Sutra practice, you can find visualizing a deity in front of you, and then making offerings and all of that. But visualizing yourself a deity and all of that, there's you don't. And I already told the purpose of that, why in Vajrayana, why you practice those. Of course, there is a potential, so you try to by doing that, you also see your potential. You are being more and more aware and more your potentials, and also you have more and more access to that potential, as well as by being able to visualize and think that way, it stops a lot of negative thoughts from arising. When you are able to do negative thought about yourself, negative thought about others, negative thought about the environment, so it's another kind of technique, So that is one difference. Also, another difference is, in Tantra, Vajrayana path, through certain specific techniques, to be able to use the desire into the path, or desirous energy or desire into the path, again, which is not taught in the, not only the, not only the desire, but even the energy of anger, the energy of desire, the energy of ignorance, to be able to transform them in the path, through specific techniques. Again, to be able to use those energy into the path instead of being an obstacle to the path. Normally, those are the obstacles to the path. In Sutra, these are the obstacles to the path. But in Tantra, one is able to use those energy into the path. But you can only use those energy into the path if you have a strong foundation or common path. If you don't have a strong foundation and common path, you might be just misleading yourself, misguiding yourself. You might be just increasing more desire, more anger, more delusions, instead of reducing it, and to be able to use on the path. So again, that is where the emphasize the foundations of the common path is so important. But when you have a strong foundation, common path, then you really use those for to be able to use to transform into path and not become an ordinary delusions. With that foundations, and then with a certain tantric technique, then you are able to use those in those energies into the path. And so again, that is kind of you can say differences, Sutra and Tantra, uniqueness, And as I already explained when I explained about the mantra, the meaning of the mantra, in mantra, and by visualizing deity and so forth, then you are able to, it has a technique to overcome the ordinary appearance and grasping, and thereby, to stop arising all the delusions that arises due to, appearance or grasping of the impure, due to impure appearance and grasping. Also, another difference you find in that you don't find in Sutra, but that you find in Tantra explanation and practice is, the explanations of, wind energies, drop, and chakras, different chakras in your body, different drops and different wind energies, and how we can use those different energies, wind energy, the drop energies, the chakras energies to the path, But again, those are part you find in Tantra teaching and practice, you don't find in sutras. Also in Tantras, there is explanation, especially many of those teaching, especially in Higher Yoga Tantra, you find those teaching and practice. There's descriptions and the understanding of different level of consciousness, gross, subtle, and more subtle consciousness. In the Sutra, there is a descriptions, a study of the mind, consciousness, mind and mental factors, but all are growth mind. All these mind and mental factors that we study in the sutras as part of the study of the mind, those are all part of the growth mind. So there is no explanations of subtle mind, more subtle mind, and how to, how to have access to them and how to use them. Whereas in Tantra, especially high yoga Tantra, then there is a descriptions of different level of mind, subtle, gross, subtle, and more subtle levels, and how we can have access to those subtle and more subtle mind. And by having access to the more subtle mind, and by using that for your practice meditation, then it becomes extremely powerful, because more subtle mind is free from all the, thought concepts, without any distraction, because there is no thought concepts, in that state of mind. It becomes extremely powerful to have direct realization the emptiness very quickly. If we can have access to that mind, and if we can use that mind in our path, in our practice. And that is why, one reason why it is said, the tantric path is the quick path, easy path. It is quick, easy path if you have access to those minds, that more subtle mind. There will be a huge difference understanding emptiness with gross mind and more subtle mind. With the gross mind, you have to use, reference, conceptual reasoning, logics, all of that, and become less, and you gradually progress, with the less and less dualistic and less and less concept, and then directly. But here, when your mind is already free from all of that, you can have direct realization, without having to go through gradual like that way, So that is why it become, again, one reason, why Vajrayana is described as a easy, quick path. But is only is in a quick path, only you have a good foundations for the common path, and if we have access to that mind, Sometimes we forget all this, and then I want to go to the quick and easy path. And at the end, it becomes a longer path and difficult path. Because you do that, and to realize that I have to go to the foundations. Do you get it? You have been in those practices for so many years to realize, I have to go back to the foundations, because because of not having good foundation, I'm not making any progress. Then it becomes a longer path instead of quicker path. Instead of easy, it becomes more difficult. So we have to understand how it could be easy and quick path only on certain conditions. You know, if we have those conditions, because sometimes our mind, you know, anything you see easy and quick, you know, your mind is attracted to that. We're always looking for more easy and quick. That's our mind, and especially in our modern time where we want everything so fast and easy. Everything has to be easy and quick. And so sometimes you see, you know, tantric path, a quick path and easy path, and you might be drawn towards that, you know, because but that might not be the case if you don't have those foundations, those conditions. Only in those conditions, then it can be that. So again, you know, and also another reason why it can be a quick path is in Sutra, both in Tantra and Sutra, they spoke about the path, the union of method and wisdom. Both. In Sutra, the wisdom method are two different minds. Wisdom is the wisdom realizing emptiness. The method is loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and other practices, you know, like practice of generosity and so forth. So those are two different minds. In Tantra, the both method and the wisdom is one mind, you know. So with one mind, and, you know, that is able to visualize as a deity, at the same time to have awareness or emptiness of that. And because of that, you are able to accumulate the both collection of merit and collection of wisdom simultaneously at the same time. And so you are able to create those, you know, in Sutra, when you collect when you accumulate the collections of the merit, then, you know, it's not a collection of the wisdom. When you collect the collection of wisdom is, but here is able to collect both together because it's with one mind that is able to be both the wisdom and the method. So that is another reason why it can be quick path, because you are able to accumulate more merit quickly, and the two collections, because both in Sutra and Tantra, the way to achieve fully enlightenment by accumulating the two collections, you know. And so in Sutra path, where it takes 3 eons to complete the two collections, in Sutra you can collect the two collections, accumulate two collections much more within a shortened period. And again, the reason one of that, you know. What I need to, others that I want to kind of talk about. According to the tantric teachings, you know, one cannot achieve fully enlightened state without entering tantric path at certain stage. Just by following the sutra path, you can achieve up to the 10 bhumi of the bodhisattvas. Okay, you can go without entering the both tantric path or vajrayana path. Just following the sutra path, you can progress until up to the 10 bodhisattva bhumi but you cannot make the final, final jump to the fully enlightened without entering the Bodhisattva tantric path, Bastian. And the reason is given, and it makes sense, is both Sutra and Tantra that can talk about when you achieve enlightenment, you achieve the union of two bodies. When it is expanded, we can be 4 bodies. When it's 2, is what we call Dharmakaya and Rupakaya. Union of Dharmakaya and Rupakaya body, you achieve. And of course, within Dharmakaya, then there is natural Dharmakaya, wisdom Dharmakaya too, when you expand it, and Rupakaya, then Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. So then it becomes 4. Sometimes you see 4 bodies or 4 kayas. Sometimes you see 2 kayas. So when you don't expand it, then it's 2 kayas, the union of, and through the Dharmakaya, then one has a perfect as one own, higher purpose. And through Rupakaya is the manifestation body, where Buddha helped the benefit sentient beings, Rupa means form, form body, So they say by following the Sutra path, you cannot achieve the union of the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya, because in Sutra there is no practice to really transform. There's no practice, the real, what you call, substantial primary cause for the Rupakaya. Because this body cannot transform in the Buddha's body, because it is kind of, your mind can transform into Buddha's mind, your body cannot transform into, because this result of karma and delusions, this body itself. So it cannot really transform in the Rupakaya, the body itself. And so therefore, there's no substantial cause to that. But in Tantric, they explain about the mind. The mind is like a horse. No, I mean, the mind is like the rider, and there's the wind energy that's like a horse, and they go together. And within, just like the mind has 3 levels, gross, subtle, most subtle, the wind energy also has gross, subtle, most subtle level. To the gross mind, there's the gross wind energy, which you ride on, and then subtle mind, which ride on the subtle energy, wind energy, and then most subtle mind that ride on most subtle wind energy. And that most subtle wind energy is not like our, it is almost, inseparable from the mind itself. But still is a physical, it's still a, kind of very subtle physical energies. And that energy, the mind become the Dharmakaya, wisdom, and that's subtle, more subtle wind energy become the Rupakaya. And since in Sutra there is no method to use that the more subtle mind and more subtle wind energies, and therefore they don't have that. But in Tantra, and therefore because of that, then that is why they say no. Without that, you cannot achieve the Rupakaya and Dharmakaya simultaneously union just by following the Tantric Sutra path. That at certain time, when you achieve, at certain time, one will have to enter the Tantric path, in order to achieve. So even though in Sutra, their explanation, will be the method and wisdom. The method is the wisdom is the cause for the Dhammakaya, and the method is cause for the Rupakaya. That is in Sutra, that is their explanations. But from Tantric point of view, even that method cannot be the substantial cause for the bodies of the Buddhas, the Rup. The argument will be how can the compassion and the bodhicitta patience or wisdom mind become a substantial cause for the Buddha's form bodies? It's not possible. For the form body, it has to be something physical, because it's physical. Of course, it's not a gross physical like us, but still, even it's like a rainbow like light body, illusory bodies, but still is still a form, very light form. Just like similarly in Pardo, intermediate stage, even though they don't have gross body like us, with this wall will not kind of obstruct them, but they still have it is still a very subtle physical form body, and therefore there are few things that can obstruct them, Similarly, even Buddha's body, the form, Rupa, even though it's not physical like us, our physical body is like more like rainbow body, light, illusory body, but still it's a very, very, very subtle form body. And therefore, for that, it has to be something very subtle, physical form to be substantial cause. And so that is the kind of the, you can say argument, why at certain stages that you have to enter that in order to achieve fully enlightenment. Until 10 bodhisattvas, you don't have to have that union of that Rupakaya and Dhammakaya, you don't. So that isn't. But in order to achieve that union of two bodies of the Buddhas, then that is. And so that is a little bit some of the difference between the Sutra and Tantra, that what you find. And as both Adisha and Lama Tsongkhapa explained, in order to enter the tantric path, you need to have the empowerment is like the gateway to enter, ripening your mind, and not only is one need to get the empowerment or the initiations to enter the path, but next, once you have entered the path, keeping the commitment, the pledges, the vows, samaya is very important. Generally, of course, even in Sutra, the moral discipline is very important. It's the foundations for the meditative concentration and special insight, three higher trainings. It's very important. But in Tantra, it is even more important. It becomes even more important than even Sutra in terms of keeping those pledges and samaya, the commitments. On the basis of keeping those samaya pledges, commitment, pure, and then on the basis of that, then you engage in the practice, And then in terms of the Tantra, there are 4 classes of Tantra, the 4 classes of Tantras. Chagyu, action tantra, performing tantra, yoga tantra, highest yoga tantra, in terms of the action tantras, the practice of external and internal among all of them, the main emphasis on external, such as, when you do those practice, even the practice that related with the action tantra, not having not eating black food, for example, important factors. Cleanness is important factors. So external those, cleanness, what kind of food, not eating the black foods, in terms of practice, doing the mudras and all of them become very important. And then in performing tantras, then emphasize the importance both internal and external. In the first, the external is more, they give more emphasis on the external. And in performing tantra, it becomes more equal kind of emphasis. And yoga tantra, they more emphasize on internal and less on external things. And the highest yoga tantra, then it's all mostly in internal, So again, it's kind of, even in tantra, how you progress, progressively in that way. And of course, there are many other differences, but I don't, in terms of initiations, in first to in action and performing tantras, there's no, in terms of initiations, they don't have all the 4 initiations. That they have the only first initiation, the initiation of vast, also they don't, taking the both of vows is not required, but highest yoga tantra and highest yoga tantras, then one has to take both, not only the refuge and both of vows, one has to take the tantric vows to receive those initiations. In terms of the initiations, there are 4 level initiations, vast initiation, so-called known as vast initiations, then wisdom initiations, secret initiations, and word initiations. There are different level of the initiations. Part of the ceremony, So there are many other differences in that way. But I don't think we need to go in all of that. So instead, now I will open for any questions, because instead of me going blah, blah, blah all the time, maybe it might be more helpful, beneficial if people have any questions. And I don't know whether I have the answer, but I can see. So please, those who are in the Zoom, you can always also, and also in person. Yes.
I think as beginners, we tend to easily overestimate our understanding of the common path and our achievements on the common path. And then maybe we think, oh yes, I've heard so many teaching, and then I have a good understanding of the common path, and then let's go for tantric path. And then we realize, as Geshe said, that maybe it was too early, and then we encounter obstacles, and we realize the path is becoming not easy, but instead of it has set obstacles. But then at that time we have taken commitments and pledges that we should keep.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, and then how to avoid thinking, or how to avoid shame, or how to avoid this feeling, oh, I was too quick, I should have waited, I should not have done it, because we have to continue on the path, we have the commitments, but we might have a feeling of deep shame because maybe we realize it was too early. Now, how to deal with that?
Or instead of feeling bad, you rejoice, even though maybe that at least we have the connection and imprint, to continue to meet the Dharma and the teachings in the futures. And then when you are ready, at least you have access to that because of that. There is a slightly different approach among the teachers, also among the monks. If you see, one approach is, if you are not ready to keep all these commitments and pledges and all, maybe you should wait. I'm on that more approach, okay, myself. But I have also other friends and also teachers who says, even you don't feel you are fully ready now, you should go for it, because tantric teaching are very rare. They says in scripture, they says among the 1,000 Buddhas that is going to come, Buddha Shakyamuni is said to be the fourth of that. Only 7 of them will teach tantric teachings. The rest of them will not give the teachings on tantric, because the beings at that time are not ripened, not ready. And so for them, from those, there says, at least we have at least you have the imprint and the karmic connections to continue to receive, because it's not easy to receive those. And even when you are ready, you might not be able to find someone who can give that, or, and so therefore, when it is, you should go for it. So you have to make your own. At the end, we have to make your individual decisions, choice. There are two kind of approach. What make more sense to you? What suit you? Is more to you. I am on the approach with others. But the one time His Holiness Dalai Lama I went for the teachings. Then after the teachings, I think teaching was 2 weeks or 10 days in Dharamsala. And then after the teachings, he was going to give, initiation and commentary on Chakra Sambaras. Then it's very rare that any lamas give those teachings, commentaries. And of course, from His own Dalai Lama, it is rare. And it was going to be in his palace for a limited, and there was kind of requirements to do the kind of at least the middle sadhana, and which is like, I think 50, 60 pages, and I thought I wasn't ready, and I wasn't extremely interested and ready for that. So my teacher has actually came, the previous Gandhativa, he came from, he wasn't there for the teaching, but he came for that commentary and initiation, and many other lamas from different part has come for that. So when I went and see, said, now I'm going back to Sera, and he said, are you not staying for this initiation commentaries? And I said, no. And why? And he said, it's very rare. It's rare in general, and especially from His Holiness, it's even so rare. Like, look, everyone's coming from so far away just for this, and you are here, and you don't want to take it. you know. And I said, and I don't feel I'm ready. And I don't also feel that I can keep the commitments. I already have some others. So, you know, my teacher tried to kind of encourage me to take it, but I felt I wasn't ready. And so, and then finally my teacher, I give some more explanation, and finally my teacher said, okay, you know. And at that time that there were some other friends who was going to take it, and when we discussed, and that was their way of saying, you know, anyway, you know, I'm not going to take most of the commitment anyway. I'm going to go anyway and down. So why not take it and have the connections? So that is their way. That is their approach. That is their way of thinking, and so again, you know, different people have different approach, and so in that way you can rejoice that at least you have made that connection, you know, by having already taken. There's nothing we can do about it, whether I was ready or not. That is something that we felt like we wanting to do it. We did at certain times, and then instead of feeling guilty or feeling bad, you should focus on the positive of that and feel, you know, rejoice, you know, at least I have that connection, at least I have that opportunity, at least, you know, I already got this. When I feel ready, I can focus on that. At the moment, maybe I can just continue to focus on the foundations while just keeping the commitment, you know, not so much giving time on that, you know, emphasize giving more time on more on the foundation, because that's where we need to work on. At the same time, just keeping the minimum kind of the commitments, and then later when we feel we have better foundations, you know, and then when we feel like you are ready because you have built up better foundation, when you're ready to walk into the actual real practice and focus more on them, then you already have what you need to engage in practice. So I think, yeah, that would be my suggestions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any? Yes, please.
The teachings on Tantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, were they written or were they just translated orally? Do we have any, written?
Well, both the Tantric and Sutta, they were all orally passed at the very beginning. Even the Sutras teachings, you know, at the Buddha's time, it wasn't written. You know, it is only after Buddha passed away, you know, the disciple or our teachers no more here. So how we are going to, you know, the teachings are going to get lost, you know, and we need to do something to preserve. And that is when they had the first Buddhist council and gathering of 500 arhats. And then, you know, orally recollecting, everyone listening, and each of them who have heard, and everyone see, is that what you heard? Is this what you heard? It's the same what we all are hearing. That's why they have 500. Not only 500, they are not just a monks. They all are arhat. They had to be arhat, you know, so that there's less chance of misremembering or misrecitings. And so that is how they collect, how that preserved, and that it was passed orally, you know, for some time. I don't know exactly for how long, and until they started to write it. And so it is not only so that whole teachings, both Sutra Tantra was passed orally up to a certain time, and then it was written there, you know, and probably also the Tantric teaching was probably also written a little bit later than the Sutra's teachings. Also there is a general understanding and explanation that many of the teaching that Buddha gave in the first turning wheel of the Dharma, those teaching was given to more common audience, by everyone here. Then some of the teachings, part of the second turning wheel of the Dharma, such as the personal parameters, they were given to more selected. It wasn't given to the all everyone common. They were more given to more selected kind of disciples. And then Tantra teaching was even giving the more smaller numbers and more selected disciples. And again, not only Buddha's time, even now it's like that. His Holiness will give general teaching to public everyone, and then certain teachings, it will be more limited. And then with those Tantra teachings that I said, very limited, you have to have requirement, you have to do all this commitment, so then it becomes only very few can actually attend, and only few are able to attend, and few are able, and especially it is said in the past, it is traditionally in the past, empowerment is given to not more than 25 people each time. Mostly is three disciples, one or two or three. Maximum is, they say 25, because they check each individual students, they guide through the foundation practices, they work on that, and then they check on that, how much they have progress and whether they are ready or not, and then checking everything and that, and then when they're ready, and then that's when so it's, and slowly, it became more and more kind of public, more and more secret. That is why we call secret Tantra. It didn't become any secret anymore. It became more kind of open in that way, so that is, yeah.
Hello, Geshe
Yes, please.
When you talk about pure vision, like seeing yourself as a deity or seeing the guru as the deity, can you talk more about how do you actually visualize that, and in what way is it connected to the wisdom seeing emptiness? In what way is seeing the guru as I think the aspect of the deity is connected to the mind which sees the emptiness of intrinsic existence?
Well, in terms of seeing oneself as deity, again, when we do those practice sadhana, it always starts with dissolving the ordinary self, into emptiness. So you meditate on it, of course you visualize, dissolving, becoming smaller in the light, smaller into emptiness, but also you use the reasoning logic of there's no inherent existing self. So you meditate on that emptiness, and once you have meditated on emptiness, then there is the mind, that is wisdom, or the awareness that is aware of that emptiness. Then you visualize that awareness or that wisdom then manifesting in the form of light, and the light, of course, depending on different sadhanas, the gradual different visualizations, but in generally, keep it simple, then it visualizes in light, and that light manifests as the deity, yourself as that deity. And so because it's from emptiness is arising, so therefore you are aware that there is no inherent existence. So in one side of the mind, you are aware is non-inherent existence and it's like illusion. Another side of the mind, you are visualizing yourself as deity fully. So that is why to start with, first you start with meditation on emptiness. And only through that meditation on emptiness, that wisdom realizing that emptiness manifests as deity. While you are trying to keep that visualization of deity clear, at the same time, you need to have that awareness of seeing it as like illusions, non-inherent existence. And so therefore, that is, again, while you are visualizing, you are still involved with the wisdom by seeing it as like an illusion, not inherent existing deity. So that is how it is involved with emptiness in that way. The wisdom realizing emptiness, bringing that in that practice. Of course, at the moment, if we don't have wisdom realizing emptiness really, then we just visualize, But when you really have the wisdom realizing emptiness, then it's not visualizing. You really have the wisdom realizing emptiness. At the moment, we visualize that we meditate on the emptiness, and then we visualize we have the correct realization, awareness of that emptiness, that awareness, wisdom, and manifesting that. But so. And seeing the guru as deity is slightly, in a different, in that when you see the guru as a Buddha, and especially in deity form, not ordinary, then all the. Otherwise, if you see them as in an ordinary form, then many others negative thought could arise sometimes. So by seeing in a deity, then it kind of stops us from having arising with negative thoughts, and by not having a negative thoughts, it's more easy to feel the the faith, devotion, and with that kind of faith and devotions, then our mind is more open, and our mind become more mature, and to be able to receive it's like the ground is more mature, and to have the realizations to arise. So then, whatever instructions, advice, teachings that we receive from them, it become more, what you call, more personal and really singing. It become really. Otherwise, sometimes the teaching become too dry, and even it's the same teachings, two person listening, and they might get very differently or how they feel about that teaching, depending on their state of mind. In terms of the teaching, it's the same person, same teaching, but one person's mind can be very transformative and very changed and very from the same teaching, and the other person might not feel that way, and because it's more than the extra from the teacher's side, it's from their side, how open their mind was, how suitable their mind was, how mature their mind was. And so, and that is so, those practices are to help to develop that kind of, it's working your soil, mind soil, to make it more suitable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think.
Hello, Geshe Sherab. Hello,
Yes.
hello.
Hello.
Andre, hello, nice to see you in Luxem, Zurich. Welcome. Andrea Brada has a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Geshe Sherab. Thank you. So, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. Yes.
So I have a few questions, but my first question is, when somebody practices this highest yoga tantra, does it affect others? So kind of purifying your real environment, or not real, so this conventional environment for the beings around this person.
Mm-hmm. That is hard. I think someone can effect to small level, through their practice, and then dedicating in a correct way, right way, it can affect a little bit, because karmically we are kind of have some connections. And so when I dedicate my karma, my virtues to the well-being of everyone's karma, maybe there can be some effect, on a small way. But I don't think that someone can totally kind of, purify everything. Otherwise, Buddha would have already done for us, that we wouldn't be here now in this kind of environment. And with, all the Buddha would have already done that. All the great masters, teachers would have done that. But I do believe that it can have a small effect when it is done in certain, and especially when we dedicate in the right way. Yeah.
Thank you. My next question is, there are wrathful deities. And I kind of, because when I think of deities, Buddha deities, everything is so nice and something, and somehow it's difficult for me to understand this wrathfulness. How can you become a Buddha still in wrathful form? Can you maybe say a few words about it?
Yeah. Compassion can be wrathful too sometimes. In a sense, wrathful not in the sense from the mind, but in some external appearance. Sometimes you have to be tough. What I say is, in the heart, you have to be like small bunny, very, compassion. Outside, you have to sometimes behave like a tiger, to protect yourself, to protect the society, to protect others, to stop someone from hurting and harming others. Inside, you should have the compassions, true compassions, for that person. But outside, sometimes we have to be tough, And the wrathful aspect is that, showing the aspect of tough, in order to stop someone from hurting and harming and, creating so much pain and suffering to others and themselves. And so that is, at the moment we are like this, outside like bunny, inside like tiger, inside a lot of anger, a lot of, bad feeling, but outside we try to smile, try to be very nice, but wrathful deities are the opposite. Inside is like the bunny, very soft, very soft, kind, compassion, but outside the aspect of very tough, and sometimes it's required. That is required, and I think that is the same with the parents dealing with their children. Sometimes they have to be tough, and it is they be tough because they really care about them. Of course, there are moments when you can actually, maybe not necessarily really because you care, because you are upset with something, and then you express that to them. Sometimes it's possible. Sometimes it's like that. But a lot of time is your love and compassion that you don't want them to make those mistakes or do something bad, to hurt themselves, hurt others, and both and that. And sometimes you try to explain it with peacefully and nice way, and they don't get it. And sometimes you have to explain them and be more tough. No is no. And like that. And in one moment, maybe they might not feel very great, but again, when they understand it comes from true love, compassion, everyone understands. They don't have any bad feelings. Of course, if it is not coming from compassion, your toughness, then of course, that will be different things. But when it really comes from true love, true compassion, then, even the other persons will understand. Because they can feel that. They can feel that it is coming from that softness of true love, compassion, and concern.
Thank you. My last question is does Maitreya Buddha will teach Tantra?
Oh,
Maitreya Buddha.
Maitreya, I don't remember all the 7 Buddhas. Buddha Shakyamuni is one. It is said the first 3 Buddhas have not taught actual Tantra. So among the 4th is, and then the 11th one, I think, is the one. I don't remember. Venerable Anila, you remember? Anirita?
No, I don't know. Sorry. I really don't know. Maybe about a question to Andrea. Why do you want to know? Do you want to wait until Maitreya comes?
I don't know, just for case, but thank you. It is maybe not so important. I was just curious. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
So any other questions? Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay.
You said on the mantra, when you are you see yourself as a deity, the next level you are able to see also everyone else as a deity. My question is, you can see, just a clarification for me to understand that I understand the first part.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is, and also that has with the effect that was asked before. You see the deity in people even if they don't see themselves as a deity?
Yeah. It's training your mind just to look and see. They don't see themselves as a deity, but when you train yourself in the sadhana, you purify the environment. You see the whole, to dissolve the environment and all being in the environment and yourself into emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of dissolve all the ordinary appearance, the whole environment, as well as all the beings in that environment and yourself. And from that emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, then you visualize, the environment transform into the mandala, celestial mandala, pure, and all the beings in that environment as deities and so forth, and then yourself, so and as well as yourself. So yeah, regardless whether the others see themselves deity or not, is more to do with training your mind than.
If you can see the deity in somebody else, in that respect, influence.
The other persons.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I don't think it's so strong necessarily, just like the other questions, It will have more to do with training your mind, not to have negative feelings and negative thoughts. It's kind of to see their full potentials, as well as not to give rise to negative thoughts and feelings, emotions towards others, yeah. Yes, please.
You discuss how the asanas of seeing yourself as a deity and at the same time meditating on emptiness, but where does the bliss comes from? And how maybe how does you take pleasures into the path?
One is, whatever you enjoy, whatever you experience, because you see as your deity, and you also see the emptiness or whatever enjoyment that enjoy, seeing emptiness, they all are empty, and that the emptiness, realizing as the wisdom realizing that emptiness then manifesting that food, that drink, whatever you are enjoying. And so again, when you enjoy that as something like that, then you are less grasping because you see the empty. It's all display and manifestation of emptiness. You know, there's no, it isn't, you are not in hidden existence. What you are experiencing yourself, the experience is not in hidden existence. The object that you are experiencing is not in hidden existence. It is just emptiness manifesting in that whatever aspect object that is the one thing. One can use that in that way. And so then there's less clinging and grasping to the that. But also in Tantric, when we talk about using the blissfulness, you know, I think it's also, especially in the highest yoga tantra, is, you know, through certain technique, you know, of, you know, yeah, I don't know, through certain techniques of, you know, the melting of the white bodhicitta and so forth, and then, you know, it kind of, with that kind of blissfulness, then it opened your chakras, and that by opening those chakras and then having access to the clear light mind, and then using that clear light mind to the path. So that's the one of the main, using the bliss to kind of to open the chakras, and then to be able to use and to have access to that clear light mind and to use that. That is the one of the main, yeah, in terms of using. Okay. So then we do the dedications. Yeah.
Shi pergi gongche me totan vira niche nite nyambade sangye shindu mite owaye rogu nanda shingla chupasho idam guru rana mandala kaniriyatayami Gevadinyo Lama Sangye Trudyo Dro Achinyam Malupa Dilesa Gurpasho Janjo Sencho Rinpoche Magye Pananke Kyoche Yewa Nyamba Mebaya Gombe Gomdo Bewasho Toni Dawa Rinpoche Magye Pananke Kyoche Gewa Nyampa Mebaya Gome Gomdu Bewasho Jiten Kam Dipente Kajin sumeten singyatso la so adeso tu sho Kanrira veko veshinkan Yendam Malujo Tukten chidang jang gen yewe, ten jogya bela kajira suha. Sonden mur mixin pachuki, jeda jelten beperdonyo sho.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kristen, for the. And I think regarding your questions in the sadhanas, when we do the sadhanas, especially the extensive actual sadhana, all the offering that we do, offering to all the Buddhas, you again in part of practice, you dissolve into emptiness, in meditation on emptiness, and then that emptiness that realize the emptiness, then manifesting in different offerings of water, light, or whatever different offerings. And so that is what you do. And same when in the part of the sadhana or practice visualization, when it's offered to you as a deity, again, because you bless that by dissolving emptiness, and then the emptiness, wisdom realize emptiness, then manifesting or displaying that offering, and then you enjoy that. So therefore, always you bring that emptiness in that, and then generating a, visualizing of generating great bliss while you enjoy it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good night. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Geshe Sherab. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Geshe.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Geshe Sherab.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. So you see you tomorrow.
That was smart.
It was very good.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.